Stay with us as we bring in Ed Lee, New York Times reporter and a CNBC contributor. Ed, I don't mean to be cynical here, but do the merits of the case at this point really matter? In other words, is what really matters here the politics of the case, the people on both sides of the aisle saying, I'm tough on China, no, I'm tough on China, and here's how I'm going to take it out on this company?
Tyler, I think your cynicism is actually well-founded. It's really all about the politics. I mean, these hearings in general have always been a moment for these guys to grandstand, but this kind of bipartisanship actually on display was astounding. Also, it was brutal, really, if you looked at it carefully. I mean, or you didn't have to look carefully to see how brutal it was. He was taking the brunt, TikTok essentially taking the brunt for two things here, right? Sort of the pervasive problems of technology altogether, as well as the challenges coming from China, right? So I think they just sort of unleashed all of their anger and frustration around these issues in this one hearing against this one man and this one company. So yeah, I think politics is really what's the biggest factor here. In terms of the facts, in terms of, whether data is actually being shared or used or manipulated in some way, we don't know, right? So I think that's what Congress and that's what ultimately the Biden administration will be looking for, is the potential for this harm versus the actual harm, as they did in Huawei, right? The Huawei deal, the Huawei sort of ban essentially was founded on that idea as well, is that we don't really know exactly what or if that they're doing with this equipment, but that they could is the issue.
Two things strike me about the political risks to this. One, if you were to ban a certain type of car or golf, you would have your constituents outraged. 150 million people using TikTok. Julia, are the lawmakers unafraid of the political backlash here because much of that audience is too young to vote, or they just don't? And two, when you look at Facebook and Twitter, we know that those platforms were used by bots to influence Americans' behavior in the 2020 election. So why aren't they under the same amount of scrutiny?
Well, there are a lot of questions packed in there, Contessa, but I do think that there was a notable push to reform Section 230 in this testimony today and in this hearing, in the sense that there has to be some sense of these platforms being held accountable. And what Section 230 does is it means that the platforms are not liable for the content that's shared on their platform. If there were to be Section 230 reform, that would be challenging for Meta, Twitter, and Snap, but primarily Meta and Twitter more than the others. And so that would be challenging there, too. So there's no question that more reform of some of these laws could be challenging for the other tech companies. But the real focus of the hearing today was on China. Question after question after question about how much the Chinese government controls, whether the Chinese Communist Party has influence, whether TikTok is a Chinese-owned company. So many questions really centering on China, Contessa. And I think that's what really differentiates this debate from that which I heard when I was reporting on all the times that Mark Zuckerberg was testifying about the questions of manipulation on his platform. So I think that's why it's really being treated differently this time around.
So, Ed, I was sort of stunned to hear what Julia reported, and that is that, quote, older data is not yet quarantined. This all awaits a kind of a process involving Oracle that won't be done until later this year. I mean, that would certainly add fuel to the fires of those who would like to ban TikTok, wouldn't it?
No, it absolutely would. And, sort of decoupling this data, I mean, you would have thought, actually, I would have thought that it would have happened a while ago. So, yeah, I think, the reporting there is actually, is important to point out. I mean, Beijing also didn't do TikTok any favors by essentially releasing a statement right before the hearing saying we won't allow any sale, any divestiture of TikTok. I mean, the questions around the hearing were, well, how much does China really control the company? Well, clearly a lot if they're issuing that statement and making that presumption.